Coming up, the storms of spring and some of the ways people chase them these days.
Also, from politics to medicine, Charlie Shields, the new man in charge at Truman Medical Center.
Another look back at Brown versus Board of Education as seen through documents in the National Archives.
And making a difference with Bob Kendrick and the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. All ahead on The Local Show.
Hi, I'm Randy Mason.
And I'm Nick Haynes. It's going to be a big weekend for the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. On Sunday at Kauffman Stadium, both teams on the field will be wearing throwback uniforms to the days of the Negro Leagues.
The Royals will wear Monarchs colors. The Baltimore Orioles the uniforms of the Baltimore Black Sox. And because it's also dressed to the Nines Day at the K, they're giving away 10,000 Monarchs fedoras. Nick, come on. You need one.
Do I? Oh. But that's not all. On Friday, the museum kicks off this year's Legends Luncheon series with Willie Wilson and Al Fitzmaurice at the Bruce Watkins Center.
And on Saturday, they'll unveil a brand new exhibition that bridges cultures through baseball, as we show you in this edition of the series we call Difference Makers.
My name is Bob Kendrick. I am president here for the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, the world's only museum dedicated to preserving and celebrating the rich history of African American baseball and its profound impact on the social advancement of America. This is the centerpiece of the exhibition. It is called the Field of Legends. On the outside looking in is my dear friend, the late great John Buck O'Neill.
It's a familiar scene for Bob Kendrick, leading a tour group through the maze of mementos and memorabilia, reflecting so many great teams from yesteryear. Ball clubs like the Monarchs and Crawfords, the Stars and the Homestead Grays. This time, it's a mix of students from Lincoln Prep and players from the Kansas City Chiefs.
So the story itself is told on a timeline of American history. Now, I don't think there was ever a time then that people didn't want to know the story of the Negro Leagues. They just had no way to know the story of the Negro Leagues until this museum came about. This is Rube Foster, the genius. It would be Rube Foster who would establish the Negro Leagues here in Kansas City in 1920. We're supposed to make sure that the legacy of what I like to call baseball's unsung heroes never die. And so we're excited about it, even though we knew it was going to be a daunting task. There's Satchel with his Satchel Paige All-Stars. In some respects, we become our own worst enemy. The more we popularize the story, we're driving up the price of these rare artifacts to the point that we can't compete to go get them. We're competing against private collectors who have unlimited wealth. We have a little bit of money. And of course, you could not tell the story without including the barbershop. The barbershop has always been a staple in black life. You got a shave, you got your hair cut, and then you sat around and told lies. Now we've pushed our team to the limit, really. But everybody's bought into what we needed to do. Everybody's excited, but it's paying off. And again, the stars kind of aligned too.
It was practically a celestial triple play for Kendrick after he returned to run the museum 3 years ago. First, Buck O'Neill's 100th birthday bash, followed by the Major League All-Star Game. And then in 2013, the arrival of former Monarch Jackie Robinson's story on the big screen.
Last year, this time, we were hobnobbing with Harrison Ford and Chad Boseman and with a red carpet celebration of the release of 42. And that paid huge dividends for the museum, actually even more so than I think any of us even imagined.
So this year, with nothing quite as dramatic to maintain the momentum, the museum opted to look within. In April, they inducted the first 4 post-Negro League players into their brand new Hall of Game. This summer, they're reviving the Legends Luncheon series and launching an ambitious new exhibition which will run through September.
Negro Leagues Baseball, which is the Spanish spelling of the word baseball, will celebrate and tout the historical and cultural connections between the Negro Leagues, Latin America, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. It's a shared legacy bonded by baseball, but it's a story that many folks don't really know about. When they went to Puerto Rico or they went to the Dominican or Mexico, they weren't black baseball players. They were just baseball players. And that's all they ever wanted to be. And that's where we see this beautiful bond that is formulated and is done so through the game of baseball. So despite the ills that have impacted our sport, baseball has still been the most unifying sport of them all. And to think about, in 1937, they brought so many stars down from the Negro Leagues that there were virtually no Dominicans on those teams. And now the DR dominates at the Major League level. And that's one of the reasons why we think the exhibit is so important, because the Negro Leagues help make the game the global game that it is today.
Eventually, plans call for this exhibit to make its way to every city in the major leagues. But in the meantime, free of charge at 18th and Vine, it's also a great way to bridge some boundaries much closer to home.
This is a wonderful gateway for us to begin an even stronger synergy and relationship with the Hispanic community. You know, any of us who are baseball fans are going to appreciate this. But we hope that this will get people moving from other parts of the city to come down to 18th and Vine and experience what we have to offer. But we're excited about that.
Saturday, May 17th will mark the 60th anniversary of a landmark decision by the Supreme Court. On that day in 1954, their ruling in the case of Brown versus Board of Education case ended the legal segregation of America's public schools.
Just a few years earlier, the District Court of Kansas had upheld a state law requiring black and white children to attend separate schools. The original filings from that are among the holdings at the National Archives in Kansas City.
Now, as part of the ongoing series Curator's Choice, reporter Lindsay Fote brings us this close-up look at the documents of the case that changed America.
The National Archives of Kansas City, we have the records of the District Court of Kansas, the District of Kansas. Of course, Brown v. Board was filed at the District Court in Topeka, Kansas. Therefore, we have the case. This file is the original case of Brown versus Board filed at the District Court in Topeka. The case went on for years. It was filed in 1951, but the final ruling for the Supreme Court was not laid down until 1954. Now, of course, the Supreme Court, we all know how it ruled in Brown versus Board, ruling the segregation in schools is unconstitutional. But at the District Court, the finding of facts, and the District Court, which I hold here, this is the original finding of facts, stated that the city of Topeka provided both schools of comparable standards for the African Americans as well as for the whites. So they actually ruled at the District Court level in favor of the Board of Education. The conclusion of law by the District Court stated that the 14th Amendment was not violated by the school district in Topeka. It stated that there was no constitutionally denied rights by the school district, and then it dismissed the testimony of the sociologists and psychologists. Their testimony was that even if you had the exact same school, the very fact that you segregated them implied inferiority, which the District Court in Topeka they did not find valid with the 14th Amendment, which of course, once it got to the Supreme Court, they ruled differently.
After 15 years in the CEO suite, John Bluford is about to step down as the head of Truman Medical Centers. Now, a man more known for his political acumen than healthcare background is about to fill Bluford's shoes. The former number 2 in the Missouri Senate, Republican legislator Charlie Shields, has just been named Bluford's successor. He dropped by to discuss it with Nick Haynes.
Thank you so much for being with us. And I have to be very conscious of saying Truman Medical Centers, because I've been reprimanded several times if you say Truman Med, because, you know, TMC, it is more than just Hospital Hill location, Charlie.
Yeah, one hospital, multiple locations is the way we like to refer to it. So it's great to be with you.
You know, I think about you, though, in the political realm, because you spent 20 years in the Missouri House and the Missouri Senate, rising to the second-in-command position there in the Missouri Senate. How does that political background put you in good stead in this new role leading Truman Medical Center?
Well, I appreciate it. A lot of what people don't know is that during my time in the legislature, I was also involved in healthcare. I worked with Heartland Health in St. Joseph, Missouri for 17 years before joining Truman. So always had a background in healthcare, but certainly with institutions such as Truman who serve a public mission, the intersection between healthcare and public policy is certainly there, and that experience, I think, in the legislature probably adds to that, and particularly in the advocacy role that I'll be playing.
You know, you represented St. Joseph in the Missouri Senate. You've been in a suburban hospital with Truman Lakewood. Right. How does it play out then? Now you're going to be in the head honcho of basically, though, an urban hospital, and the concerns that they're going to be there at that particular location.
Well, Truman obviously serves all of Kansas City and all of Jackson County, so we have multiple markets, multiple constituencies. We serve underserved populations as well as those that have the absolute best insurance. We want to be the provider of choice for all customers in Jackson County and Kansas City.
That's what you tell the Business Journal. We want to be the provider where the person with the absolute best insurance wants to come, and where the folks with no insurance can come. But in the perspective of the entire metropolitan area, why should somebody with the best insurance want to come to Truman?
Well, I think first and foremost because of quality, expert alignment with the UMKC School of Medicine. We are an academic medical center. They'll know that we receive very high quality care. People, when they come to Truman for the first time, if they've never been exposed to it, they always come back and say, you know, I just had no idea it was such a great hospital, and we want everybody to have the opportunity, if needed, to experience that.
11% of the uncompensated care in the entire state of Missouri is being provided by Truman Medical Centers. Something that a lot of folks don't realize with the Affordable Care Act is that as part of that legislation, the reimbursement that was going to hospitals to help offset the costs of that uncompensated care, and it was going to start to go away on the notion that somehow you were going to get more folks coming in who had insurance. So how are you going to address that issue now?
Well, that was the big trade-off in the Affordable Care Act. Certainly the idea that those funds you referred to, called disproportionate share funds, would be reduced. In exchange, we'd see more people coming in through coverage, both through Medicaid expansion and through the exchanges. Then the Supreme Court threw us a little bit of a twist and said that the Medicaid option is up to the states. They can make decisions state by state. Missouri has not taken advantage of that, so that is certainly a concern to us. What we know is we will continue to serve a population. We continue to serve those folks that are outside of the exchanges that would be covered by Medicaid if Missouri would opt in, but haven't done so at this point, and that's part of our mission. So we work through that. We continue a strong advocacy effort. We believe ultimately policymakers in Jefferson City will see the wisdom of bringing in under Medicaid and expanding coverage to that population.
Now, you don't start your new job until July. What's the first thing you're going to be doing as CEO as soon as you walk into that CEO suite, Charlie Shields?
Well, probably day one is manage to figure out where everything is at Hospital Hill. But after that, certainly assessing talent, where the opportunities are, trying to work on the relationship with the medical school and figuring out how we take full advantage of that so that the community understands what it means to be an academic medical center. Continue the advocacy efforts in Jefferson City. The legislature will be out of session by then, but advocacy never stops. And then trying to continue to drive cost out of the healthcare system. We know that with the challenges that we face, we have to be more efficient, delivering better, higher quality care, and we'll work on that every day.
What is the future for Truman Medical Centers? Can it stay by itself as a standalone hospital group?
I think so. There's a lot of folks in the industry that will talk about that you have to be a $15 billion organization to compete in the future. I don't necessarily believe that. I believe you have to have $15 billion worth of partnerships and affiliations to be successful, and we'll work on that.
You're 400 million something.
We're about 470 million in net revenue. So very large organization, but certainly in the healthcare world, there are those that are much, much larger. But the key to us is to continue to provide very good, high-quality care and then build those relationships along the continuum so that services that we don't provide within Truman, that we'll have relationships with those people that do provide that services. services. And I think that's the future of healthcare. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to be bigger, but you have to act and respond to the marketplace with those partnerships that make you appear to be bigger.
Well, Charlie Shields, the incoming president and CEO of Truman Medical Centers, thank you so much for being with us on The Local Show.
You bet.
Wish you well.
Great to be with you.
It's that time of year when weather often becomes a big part of the news here in the Midwest.
Severe storms and tornadoes in particular threaten lives and property, but let's face it, they're also pretty fascinating.
New technology has made it considerably easier to track storm systems and even to get out and chase them. Reality TV shows have jumped on the bandwagon in a big way.
Our next story looks at a handful of folks from around the area who all share a keen interest in storms, the data they contain, and the stories they can tell.
Leavenworth, Platte, and Wyandotte counties until noon. Very dangerous situation. Any of these storms could pop into a tornado.
Robin Lawrenson can't take her eyes off the radar. She worries about the danger that might be developing. Like most of us in severe weather, she doesn't know where a tornado could be.
Okay, this is ready to go to the car.
But Robin's going to go find one. She's a storm chaser.
Conditions are favorable for the development of severe weather.
Her initial target is Fort Scott, Kansas, 90 miles southwest of her home in Kansas City. But overhead, a squall line quickly moves in, bringing with it 60-mile-an-hour winds. Suddenly, the sirens sound. Then comes the rain. The blue dot shows her current location.
With it being one continuous line like that, I like staying out in front of them because tornado potential is usually more on the front edge of it.
Robin decides to head east, then back to Odessa. Mobile internet and GPS allow her to make these instant adjustments on the open road. It's a safety net chasers didn't have 10 years ago. On the other hand, relying too much on technology can put chasers at risk.
For some reason, I'm having trouble connecting with my server.
Mobile radar runs on a 5-minute delay. In severe storms, a tornado can be incubated in minutes. So chasers must rely on their knowledge and experience to keep them safe.
But this system right here, this is the leading edge of it, and that's all the rain over on that end. So this is what we're gonna focus on as of right now. So
Robin has tracked more than 100 storms across 11 states. She's trained with professional chasers and the National Weather Service.
that big block right there, you can see the curtains kind of moving to the north. And then the heavy rain behind it where it's a little bit darker.
She also finds art in reading the sky, born of inspiration from her childhood in Tornado Alley.
My coping mechanism growing up in Salina was sitting on the porch and listening to the hail and the wind and listening to the rain. Perfect. So around the time I was about 16, with these little Kodak point-and-shoot cameras, I was just infatuated with sunsets and just different cloud formations. So by the time I was 18, it was like, okay, meteorology or photography. There's so much math involved in meteorology that I decided to just say, okay, I'm going straight into photography. I enjoy it. It helps me deal with things, and I just love sharing those photos with people.
That sharing can take the form of live streaming. Robin has more than 500 viewers and shares her photos with the National Weather Service.
I'm documenting it in both video and stills to get it out to the public, to get it out to the communities, to say, this is what happened.
As Robin continues to chronicle the damage in Odessa, a second batch of storms begins to develop near Fort Scott, her original target location. Turns out these chasers were there.
We looked over to the right and saw a funnel coming down. We immediately pulled over into a parking lot and
Was that on the southern storm coming up?
No, on the one
right in front of
us.
Okay.
As we were about to abandon it, which you shouldn't do, it decided to put down. And
Bill and Anna Stromberg are on the road from California. The man they're sharing stories with is meteorologist and chaser John Davies. He has a few stories himself.
Most people think storm chasing is this exciting activity where you go out and see the tornado. You know, if you've seen the movie Twister, you probably have time to go by Aunt Bee's house or whoever it was and have chicken fried steak before the tornado too. It doesn't work that way. It's very difficult to forecast tornadoes.
Every tornado begins with a thunderstorm. We know the basic ingredients: moisture, lift, instability. The difficulty is predicting which combination of elements will become the most dangerous.
Right in here you see the storms refire right there. This is the storm that produced the tornado near Fort Scott. And then this cell right here is the one that produced the Baxter Springs tornado, which unfortunately...
Working with Bob Johns at the Severe Storms Forecast Center when it was still based in Kansas City, John set out to create a better forecasting tool.
And let's take some concepts with this wind shear and the instability and put them together. See if we can come up with just kind of a simple index that might give us an idea where some areas are that could support rotation and thunderstorms.
2 peer-reviewed papers later, the Energy Helicity Index is born.
We can also see another version of this used in real time, where this axis right here looks beige of large energy helicity index values, and sure enough, a couple of these storms did tornado, and so something like that can be a clue in the short term.
If you had been there and felt the conditions as I was feeling it right there on the spot, I think you might have stuck it out and
changed. I don't get out there as much as a lot of storm chasers do. I like to pick the days where I think there's something I can learn and there's something I'm very much interested in, and to see if it works out the way I think it's going to, and if it doesn't, why didn't it? And that involves getting data ahead of time before you go out, and then coming back and getting some additional data and putting it all together and see why did things behave the way you thought they were, or maybe they didn't behave the way you did. See if there's something you can learn from that.
At the Weather Forecast Office in Pleasant Hill, Missouri, a team of forecasters is digesting 250 different graphics every 4.5 minutes, using technology like John's Indexer to paint the clearest picture possible for the public.
Our number one mission is the protection of life and property, and we take that very seriously. So, Chris, did we end up having to back them up?
When a warning is issued here, Al Petreka knows it could potentially save lives, or in the case of a false alarm, merely disrupt them. Before 2008, Weather Service warnings went out for entire counties. Now they're done with a storm-based approach that's considerably more specific.
We can draw a polygon around the storm of interest and where the worst part of that is in the storm. But we're very cognizant as we draw out the warning, what communities are going to be in that warning, because if I arbitrarily go too broad, do they really need to be in for this warning at this moment? We don't want to overwarn the public.
When the first warning sirens went off indicating that a huge tornado was about to hit Joplin, Missouri, the report says most residents didn't respond to the first sirens because of an apparent disregard for them.
The last thing I want to do is put out a tornado warning. If it's not warranted, I got to weigh that very carefully if I'm about to say, should I issue on this or should I not? We try to get very, very tight and specific and refined on our warnings. And a lot of that comes back to the flow of information coming in.
They're also working on long-range forecasts here, using radar, satellites, and weather balloons. But as storms develop, Doppler radar, which works by firing microwave pulses at raindrops to reveal their distance, speed, and direction, is the most effective tool. But even it has its limitations.
The curvature of the Earth, and the beam comes out, as you get further and further away, I can't see the lowest part of a storm where it's critical for tornadoes. I really rely on the observations of spotters and chasers.
Which gets us back to people like Robin, who's continuing to survey the damage from what might have been a rain-embedded tornado. Though she's the only chaser on the scene at the moment, she knows there are quite a few others out on the hunt this Sunday afternoon.
This is the spotter network. All those little red dots represent all of the different chasers that are online right now throughout the entire United States.
I can see where they are relative to the storm and see what they're seeing. You know, a picture's worth 1,000 words.
In 2006, Al helped create the spotter network. Today, he mines it and other public-generated sites like Facebook and Twitter for what they refer to here as ground truth. Building trust and reliability with the humans represented by those little dots is part of Andy Bailey's role with the Weather Service.
Chris is going to be our second warning person.
Okay.
Jenny's going to handle social media.
All right.
He takes Skywarn spotter training to towns like Leavenworth. and others across the 44 counties this office serves.
Things we'd like reported in. So if you look at that, you can see we want 3/4 inch or larger hail, thunderstorm-related damage, 50-mile-an-hour or greater winds.
Last year, over 2,000 classes like this were held across the country. Nearly 96,000 people attended them. The rapid rise in those numbers may reflect in part the public's appetite for TV shows like Discovery's Storm Chasers. Tony Laubach, who carries dual degrees in meteorology and media, was a part of the show for 3 seasons. From that exposure, he's been able to build his own full-time business based across the state line in Illinois.
I love not having a destination. I love that I can leave today and not know where I'm going to be tomorrow. And the freedom of having that and not knowing what you're going to see from day to day.
Tony's also seeing a very different competitive landscape out there these days. The market for solid science-based reporting has given way to a higher-pitched, in-your-face action movie approach.
But there's no reason to make an example of myself to go out and be this, oh my God, look at how close I can get and how many windows I can blow out of my car. That's not how I want to tell the story. I want to tell the story, not be the story.
Joining me by phone is meteorologist and storm chaser Tony Laubach.
Last summer, the story turned far too personal for many in the chasing community. A ferocious EF5 tornado in El Reno, Oklahoma, killed 3 of the best in the business. For Tony, who'd been filming just a few minutes from their location, the storm he calls a tragic fluke left a mark that won't soon go away.
These things do have consequences to them, and when you just show the eye candy aspect of a tornado, you forget that this has affected people. I'm not an EMT, I'm not a firefighter. I don't have the training to go in and save people. And if I am not directly on scene, the best way I can contribute is to tell their story, to say, hey, there are people that are affected by this. And that's how I hope I can help somehow.
And that is it for this edition of The Local Show. Next week, Sporting Kansas City's Project Victory at a Prairie Preserve.
We'll see you there.